Hi, and I'm Janice with Why and Why Not, and I'm your host, Janice. Thank you for coming in, tuning in, and our show's about helping others to reach their goal. Today, like normal, I have a great, spectacular guest. His name is Anthony Ward Jr. He is a licensed practicing counselor. He is here to talk to us about parenting without losing your mind. And I just love this topic because, as you guys know from previous shows, my husband and I are now foster parents, and I'm half losing my mind. Thank you very much for coming to the show, Anthony.
Thank you for having
Great.
me. Thank you.
Okay, so parenting without losing your mind, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us a little bit briefly about yourself then.
Okay, so Anthony Ward Jr. I've been in the mental health field for going on 14 years now.
Okay.
Been a counselor in multiple settings, from a therapeutic day school to residential treatment facilities to psychiatric hospitals, and now I also do a private practice.
On a private practice too. Okay, great. And we are going to put up your website that people can find you in case they have any other information or questions they want to ask you about too.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we're talking about parenting without losing your mind. Why are you going or talking about that? Is that like a new subsection you're doing of your counseling field that you're gearing yourself towards?
So to me, I mean, the family to be run has to have a good parenting, well, at least a diet. You would want a diet, but since we don't have that typically in our families today, you see a lot of structural issues that happen in society based upon poor parenting or lack of parenting. And a lot of young people that seem to not have much direction given by their parents. And so I think it'd be something that really be helpful to us, helpful to our society, allow us to get to a place where young people feel connected to the generation above them.
Okay.
And so that they'll feel like they have a greater sense of value, greater sense of purpose, greater sense of just wanting to live this life and live it well. And so I think really speaking to the parents and having the parents feel capable, willing, consistently there, I think will be helpful to the young people. So I counsel across the lifespan, and I have a lot of young people that I deal with within my agency work who just haven't had good parenting.
Okay.
And I wish I could go and grab those parents and help them along so that these young people wouldn't have the trauma that they've experienced. And then for the parents that I have within private practice, it's so many times that they come and they ask me to do the work for them.
Right.
And I would want them to feel capable, able to do the work for themselves. And if I see a client for only an hour a week, I want them to be able to go home with the rest of those 24 hours at 7 days a week, that a parent will be able to speak into their life, bring them along, help them manage their mental health, and just ultimately get towards success. So it's just something I think is needed in our culture.
Definitely. And it really, I hate to say it, it seems like a lot of parentings are leaving the parenting up to other people. They're not doing it. I mean, I'm a teacher also, and it seems like a lot of parents are just looking for other people to fill in those gaps. Like, I mean, most people nowadays, I hate to say it, is either all about us or we're too busy because we're having to work 1, 2, 3 jobs just to provide for everyone. So now, do you do a lot more of the family counseling, or are you referring to like you do individual counseling, then you talk to the parents about how they can do things better?
Both and. So there are times where I have an entire family in a session. There are times where I just have, one parent or the other parent that may have been struggling in relationship with this child. Other times I just have the child in front of me, and I'm trying to help them be able to utilize the relationship with parents, like especially parents that want to do well by their children, helping the young person see the perspective of a parent as well. So I think I try to bridge the gap as many ways as possible. So if that's having everybody together or just having the child in front of me, I'm just trying to get them to see multiple perspectives, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, definitely. What's easier, though, having the whole family in a group setting, or you just take the pieces and work on the pieces and coming back together?
It probably depends on how open each member of the family would be. So there are times where you see parents engaged, available, willing to learn, ready to learn, and you can talk to them and the child together, and you can have a great session, and you can see a lot of movement happen quickly. There are other times where you have to convince people of that there's change needed on their part. A lot of times, particularly in private practice, you'll have parents who bring the child and say the child is the problem
Ooh.
when it could be the family system.
Right.
And so if it's the family system, helping them see, okay, there's different ways that each member within the family could subtly shift, see a different perspective, change the ways they're talking about things and the behaviors that they're showing, so that the entire family unit can grow and glow and become better.
Right.
Yeah.
Even sometimes the tone is how someone delivers it, or a conversation to a child
Yeah.
can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Even
yeah.
the tone, yeah.
Yeah, how you say it, exactly.
How you say it. Now, I know you're a counselor, and there's different arsenals that you use in your tool.
Yes. Yep.
Like, I don't know, what do you like? Do you use CBT, cognitive behavioral, or have you created your own and blended it in, or a mixture?
So I would say I'm eclectic. I would
Okay.
say I have multiple modalities that I use. Definitely cognitive behavioral therapy is kind of the way in which I educate the client.
Okay.
I think really understanding the connection between thoughts and your feelings and your behaviors is key, and kind of looking behind the beliefs that you have that kind of lead to those automatic thoughts. I do that. I do a lot of collaborative problem solving, which is a intervention strategy used within the residential treatment facility I work in. And that's really about getting adults to have conversation with young people,
Right.
helping them think differently about a problem, really see it more fully. And pretty much anything that works in the moment.
Okay.
So anything that I can take. Within my graduate work, we are client-centered, so Rogerian, and that's where we really allow the client to do the movement. We really are there to be a sounding board rather than pushing them towards a directed end. We're just helping them see themselves, and we reflect back what it is that they're bringing to us.
Okay.
But it really depends on the client. It really depends on who walks into my office as to what they need. I really want to be a Swiss Army knife of like be able to pull out whatever tool is needed for this particular client. And so, yeah, I'm very eclectic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what type of tips do you give parents, or where's a lot of the focus at? Like even general for society?
I think the biggest thing I would say for parents is to be intentional. So I think a lot of times we do things after it happens. Like we start being frustrated when the behavior displays
Right.
itself, rather than seeing the end from the beginning
Okay.
and starting to plant seeds right now.
Okay.
I think particularly the sex talks, right? So we wait until they start showing up, you know, watching pornography, or you know, the girlfriend or the boyfriend shows up at your door before you start having the sex talk, before you start having the talk about what relationships look like. And we should be doing that since they were like talking.
Right.
Right? So from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, we should be speaking our values to our young people, allowing them to know what it is that we see and perceive in the world, and that it gives them it gives them a lens to see the world. So often they go around touching everything, wanting to know everything, and then they ask us questions afterwards. But sometimes you miss the first word. Right? If somebody else is speaking the first word to your child about a particular subject, they have the power, right? And the young person is more likely to listen to them because they're the one that said something first.
Right.
When we as parents, we should be willing to talk about any of the taboo or ugly or awkward subjects that we as parents will run away from. We need to run towards those things. So being intentional, I think, is the biggest thing. Another thing within collaborative problem solving, they talk about it being a skill, not will problem. So a lot of times we as parents or adults, we think that these young people are just being rebellious, or they just don't want to listen, or they just think they know everything. And the reason why they are having problems is because they're just not motivated enough. But most of the time, it's they don't have the skill to manage the problem that's in front of them. And if we think about it that way, we would be more curious. We would be more willing to say, my kid is struggling in this area. What are the skills that may be needed for this, right? So if we take our kids out to the playground, and when they get to the playground, they push people off the swings, and they want to be the first one to the slide, so they knock people over. We think, oh man, they're just mean kids. Or they don't have social skills.
Right, social
And so
skills.
social thinking skills is like, do you know how your behavior affects another person? Are you willing to see that, man, when you push this kid out of the way, they cried.
Right.
And that hurt them. Would you want that to happen to you? No. So then they'll be able to take a perspective of that. They'll be able to see that. And so if we're thinking about skill, not will, be thinking about, okay, what is something that my child needs to know before we go into the situation
Right.
that has been bad for him or her, you know, chronically. So if every time I go to the playground, they have the same issue, prior to us going to the playground again, I'm going to have a conversation with my young person and be like, hey, when we go there, it seems like you don't know how to ask for your turn. You don't know how to wait for your turn.
Right.
So this is how you wait for your turn. So maybe we can count to 10. Maybe we use this phrase when you say, hey, you want to play with me? And if someone doesn't want to play with you, then what do you do with that? But talking it through allows the young person not to just freak out in the moment. And I think that's what typically happens.
Right.
They freak out in the moment.
Now, do you think a lot of television has a huge influence, and the television is literally raising our children versus us?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, yeah. So, and again, another thing of being intentional is everything that you do or allow your child to experience, have a reason for it. So with entertainment, from your cell phones to your computers to your tablets to your TVs, you should be looking for shows and entertainment that will help them grow a skill rather than just sit them down. I call them digital pacifiers. We find ways of getting our young people off our back. Don't ask me no more questions, no more whys. I don't want to see you for this amount of time. Just go. But when we do that, we allow them to just be educated by what it is that they see.
Right.
There are so many social situations that happen in cartoons, that happen in teen shows, that if we aren't aware of them, we don't know what they're being taught. We don't know what they're learning. I think if we were being intentional as parents, we would sit there with them and watch the shows they watch.
Right.
We would use that as grist for the mill, meaning we would use it as a conversation starter for us. Like, so in that situation, what might have you done for that? So they use what's happening to the main characters as like a playground of thought, right? You can have a thought experiment with what it is that you see, and then you can grow without having to get in the mess, right? So if you see, you know, I'm thinking like a teenage show where boyfriend and girlfriend are fighting. Okay, if that was you, what might have you done? And having them think it through before it happens helps them the next time they go into their school and they want to date somebody and they see red flags because they've had this conversation beforehand.
Correct.
So be intentional about what it is. Kids should not be on cell phones. Social media to me is, it's like an epidemic.
It's a drug.
It is a drug.
It's a drug.
It's like
you
a mental health.
It.
Yeah, it's a
and
mental
then you
health
get those
epidemic.
games you have to have. You have to play. You got to play the Candy Crush. You got to be on Facebook to see what someone's wearing, what someone's eating. I'm sorry, I cannot stand the pictures that people have all the food. You know, if you're not sharing, don't show me a picture.
Right.
Okay. But yeah, these kids have to have it. They got to text. They got to be all on the latest fashions. And then they have everyone wants to be a YouTube sensation, a YouTuber. And kids get addicted to watching or wanting to be on these games. It's just, it comes over and consumes people that no one knows how to talk and have a conversation with anyone.
That's true. That's true. And I think that...
Or play baseball in the park.
Right. Or just have a game where you actually interact with people. Yeah, not just be able to talk to them over, you know, a headset. I think, so social media is one of those things that it kind of hijacks your brain. You think you need it, and then you are fooled into believing that you actually have friends when they are just numbers on the screen. That's not the same thing as having a real friend that you can go to, that you can converse with, that you can explain what's going on in your heart. You can ask for their perspective on things so that when you come to a problem, you can think about it in multiple ways. And I think we miss out on that when all we do is this alternative universe of social media and internet.
Now, do you think parents, that's a problem maybe with the parents too? Because you know there's a lot of parents that are on the Facebook all the time. Are they just so preoccupied with themselves? Because it really doesn't take much time to be intentional with your children. That spare of the moment incident happens, you give a skill, you give a little training moment. It's not like we have to spend 8 hours a day teaching our children, but parents too are on the social media, on Facebook.
So I would say it does take a lot of time, and that you have to have some thought behind it. The moments are small, the moments are short, but you should be thinking about what is it that I could help my kid along in. When we lay down, when we wake up, we should be like, okay, what is something that my child may need at this point?
Even like teaching something, being thoughtful, or
Mhm.
setting the table. Okay, you got a napkin for yourself.
Right.
It would be nice you get a napkin for everyone. It only
Yeah.
takes a few moments. And that's what? That only took me 30 seconds to say or less.
Yeah.
And you just taught your child a moment of being thoughtful.
Yes.
So it
Yes.
doesn't take a lot to teach kids skills.
It doesn't take a lot of time,
But I think a lot of people think so.
right. Well,
Or they're expecting someone else to do the little things.
I think everybody's expecting someone else to do it. Like we're good at passing the buck. We're good at moving things down and thinking that somebody else, particularly like for me as a counselor, you're more skilled at it. So I'm gonna let you do the job
Absolutely.
since you've gone to school for it. You've been in this field for a long time. You can just say it better than I can.
Right.
But
And
my
here's
words.
the check that you just do it anyway.
Right, right. But my words won't last as long as yours, right?
Right.
And this relationship is still time limited. It's something that happens, 4 to 6 weeks or maybe 6 months. But at some point, I leave their life, and you should still be there as a parent.
Right.
And so you have years upon years of relationship that you could be building and you could be planting. Just thinking about when I take I have two young daughters. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. I think one of the more frustrating things as a parent, what do I call myself? As a woke parent. I feel like I'm woke. Like other people seem like they're asleep with it. Where I'll go to the park and you'll look around at everybody and everyone's looking down at their phone. So they're there at the park with their children, but they're
Right.
not there.
Right.
So not just being intentional, but being present. Like just because you're there, but you're not really being with them and helping them
Right.
engage. So I'm running them down the playground sets while other parents are like, hey, stop doing that. And then they go back to whatever they were reading
Right.
or doing around the periphery of the playground. And I think that's missing opportunities. Like
Right.
play is a great opportunity for the young people to gain skills. And if you're not a part of the play, you can help bring them along in that area. Yeah.
Now, getting slightly off topic, but since a lot of your client, I assume, are younger people, topping off maybe at 40, low 20, 25 or so. Now, that's the same age of people that are lacking in the church. The church is really missing people between that 18 to 35, 40-ish. And then people come back in 40 after their kids are older. So you think that has a interaction or involvement with that with parenting too, that they're not even thinking about the greater picture, God, family. They're just thinking about that fast movement, instant gratification, social media. Okay, got the kids, we have to
Yeah.
get this job, the promotion, kids, you're at school, they take care of you, well, I do this, this, and that, and they're not thinking of the whole.
I would say the unexamined life is not worth living. That's like a Socrates quote.
Yeah.
I think we don't sit back long enough to think about the bigger pictures
Okay.
of origin, meaning, morality, destiny. Those are some of those worldview pictures, those worldview questions you would have to figure out, like where do we come from? Where's this all going? And I think when you ask yourself those questions, you'll want to give the answers to your children. But I think a lot of us are so numb or overloaded with entertainment that we
Right.
don't think about those questions and we don't give them to our children. And I think that is a sad part. I think it's a lot of young people who are missing out on the wisdom of the elder generation because there's not conversations being had.
Right.
Like there's no speaking to the young people. We expect that the teacher should say it. We expect that the school should bring it up. The school administrator should do the thing. That the church, the youth pastor is someone that's supposed to do all the work.
Right.
And it's not enough time. Like
It's not.
It's not enough time. It's like 1 to 2 to 3 hours, or even if you're in school, even those 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day, you don't get a chance to really speak to the hearts of the young people. You're so worried about information that you don't get to help them through inspiration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I still I keep going back to that topic, parenting without losing your mind. Okay. Now, with the parents, you think, I know we said that you need to pretty much start right away with the kids. You know, the younger the better.
Yeah.
And I agree with that too, because I see that even in grade school. I'm a grade school teacher, that the younger the better, because once the kids get older, they've already had something already set in their mind, and it's hard to break it from them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Do you? How much of a struggle do you have when you're dealing with a parent who now is a teenager and they didn't put any of those skills in there? What advice do you have, or what do you try targeting at?
I think work on consistency today. Like just be consistent today. I
Okay.
think so many times we can go back and try to beat ourselves up for the things we didn't do before.
Okay.
All you have to do is now just work with what you got now. And young people are surprisingly receptive
Oh, they
if
are.
you're
Okay.
consistent,
Consistent.
if you're persistent. Those words have to be like a dripping faucet that just keeps coming and coming and coming until it like cracks the rock. Like you
Okay.
really have to be okay with. I think even let's say I don't know,
Persistent, consistent.
yeah. Let's see if even the best parent, right? The parent who's been doing it forever, at some point their child will look at them and think that they're stupid, right? The child is going to say, "You don't know, you're behind the times, you're crazy." And you have to be okay with that and still speak the values, still speak the truth that you know. Still challenge your young person to think. And at some point they'll come back to you because we've all gone through it, right? At
Right,
some point we
correct.
realize, at age 20, 21, 22, 23, after we've been slapped by the world and slapped by some experience that we've had,
Right.
that we're like, oh man, what they said was pretty
Yeah.
smart. That made
Yeah.
sense. I really wish I had listened before. I probably would have saved money, time, and heartache.
Right.
And I think just be okay with that. That is the process. That is the journey of every child. That is the journey of every person. That they're going to
Right.
go away from even the wisdom given. But if you have waited late in the process of rearing a child, just keep going. Just keep
Right.
talking. Ask yourself those deep questions. Be the model that you want them to follow. Like don't think that you can just say it and they'll want to do what you tell them.
Right.
Like you actually have to show it. Like
Yeah, that magic wand, you say it once and they're they're healed, they're cured, they're going to listen to everything you say.
no, you have to
Yeah.
push. And I think that's what parents of older children should do. Just keep pushing, keep speaking, keep
Parent,
being there.
Persistent, consistent, and stay calm.
Stay calm.
Stay calm. You have to stay calm because half the time that's where you're going to lose your mind and start pulling all the hair
That
out.
is very true.
And if
Very
you're
true.
an older parent, you don't want to lose your hair.
Very true. Very true.
But that stresses the situation out. When the kids see that you're not in control, that makes them out of control. They're not going to listen to someone who's out of control.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
And there may be times where they push the buttons to get you out of control to win the argument. So if you know that your buttons are being pushed, you should disengage from the conversation, disengage from the interaction with your child. I think a big thing would be helpful for most parents is to have increase their emotional vocabulary, have more words for what it is that they're experiencing,
Right.
really foster that inner conversation so you know what thoughts you are having. Also put yourself back, like try to rewind time, put yourself back into their shoes
Okay.
and find words for what you experienced. Because then if you can replay to your young person, like this is what I would have thought at your age, and you found the right words for what they are currently experiencing,
Okay.
you've just won them over. They're like, oh, I thought I was the only one that experienced that. I thought I was the only one that thought that way. But mom did, dad did. And now that they were able to say the words to me, I might be I'd be willing to listen to them a little bit longer.
Okay.
Like talk to me a little more about that, seeing as though you experienced what I did.
Do you think that's a little harder? 'Cause I hear, I do the teen chat here on the show too, and I hear from them all the time, like, it's a different world, it's a different time, different society. We're Generation Z, I lost the list.
Zers and
So it's like, we're different. Our time society is different. Is that really a valid point they make up?
I think,
up.
well, well, I think that each new generation believes they're different than the one previous.
Okay.
Like we've said that, the boomer said that to the generation
Right.
before them, right? Generation X says it. Like we will always believe that we are the first ones to experience what we experience, to have the thoughts we have. And once we realize that we aren't the first persons to think of this, we will be more open to the wisdom of the older generation. I think generations need to be able to find the slang of the day, right?
Okay, so you recommend that the parents actually get a little hip in the sense and learn what's the slang and the terminology and what's going
Right.
on socially at that time period for the kids.
But that's what would happen if you are sitting there watching the entertainment that your children are watching.
Okay.
You'll hear how they're speaking. You'll
Right.
hear what they're talking about, and you'll be able to use that as the examples that you have
Right.
for them. So
I know
yeah.
the teen chat, we were talking about social media, and I think I mentioned Twitter or something like that, and I mentioned something that
Yeah,
was
Twitter's
old.
for old people. Yeah, Facebook's for old people. So if you don't have a Snapchat, if you don't have an Instagram, then you're behind time.
But that's something current parents do need to know
Yeah.
about. Because like I said, I mentioned Twitter, and I thought they were just they just laughed. It was sad. So parents do need to get up on the times.
Yes,
and
they
know
have
what's-
to. They have to.
Okay.
I think that's part of the homework of a parent.
Okay.
Like figure out what is the current culture of my child. What is
Right.
my child more likely to listen to, more likely to watch, more likely to see with their peer groups.
Because that's being intentional.
That's being
you know
intentional.
exactly what they're watching. You can tell them if you approve, disapprove, and get their feedback and their thoughts on that.
Right.
So that's totally being intentional.
Yes.
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 Like I know they even mentioned a person named Carly B. I'm like, who? And I guess I should know more on the teens, and I talked to them on the chat.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know who that is.
Okay, good. I don't feel bad.
Yeah, no, I don't know who that is. So I mean, I try to stay as close to the edge so I know something,
Okay.
but I don't want to overwhelm myself with it either. So you got to find that gentle balance between the two. Yeah.
Okay, well, we have a little bit more time. Give me a few tips for parents. Okay, if you don't mind.
So reflective listening, I think that's one of the biggest
Reflective
things
listening.
with communication. Reflective listening goes like this: if I'm hearing someone speak, I will replay to them what it is that I heard them say, and I'll try to connect it to an emotion or connect it to a thought that I think they might be having. I think that will help the young person feel heard, validated in their experience, and then it'll allow the parent to really know if what they thought they heard was
Okay.
truly what they heard. So reflective listening, empathic responses are a big thing. Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, I know you do private practice, and I believe you're also starting to do parenting workshops. So if people want more information, we did put up websites they can find you.
Yep.
Anthony Ward Jr. at the I Know Psychology Today.com, and then the practice you're actually with is Unbroken Family Counseling.
Yes.
They can look you up on that one also, and they'll get information or your email address and contact you if they want to see about your parenting workshops,
Yeah.
you know. Okay. Yeah, I love having you on. I have to have you back on again,
All right.
especially with the teens. I would
Okay.
like to have someone actually talking to the teens
Okay.
about a certain topic like lying and dating. All that would be great to have
All
you
right.
back on.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay. Wish I had more time, but we're down to like our last minute.
Okay.
So one last statement for a second. Hug your children.
Yeah, hug your children, love your children, be there with them, see every moment, and just cherish them. They need to be cherished. They need to be
Cherish.
validated.
I like that. I like that. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. This is Why and Why Not with Janice. Our topic today was parenting without losing your mind. Please look up Anthony Ward Jr. if you need any further information. If you have any suggestions, please write the show. Thank you very much. You can see us on Comcast Channel 19. Look us up on Facebook and YouTube. And thank you very much. Have a wonderful night. Good night.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.